And I'm part of civil infrastructure platform project as the testing working group member. And I'm working at Cybertrust Japan as software engineer. So today I will give an introduction about KernelCI, about what KernelCI is doing it, and I will explain a bit of how KernelCI works, and then we will give some update and about what's new on KernelCI or what's recently added to KernelCI, and in the end I will give a conclusion and some things that will be done in the future. So I think now probably many people know KernelCI project, and it's a Linux Foundation project, and that the main scope is testing and automating the testing on the upstream kernel development. And this is done by developers that are working on KernelCI code, and the technical steering committee that is formed by KernelCI core developers and maintainers. And the technical steering committee is the committee that is working on the technical future of KernelCI. And when we have an advisory board that is made by some premium organizations that are representing and are involved with KernelCI. And these premium organizations, they choose some member that help coordinating KernelCI tasks and manage some KernelCI budget. And you can see the premium members here. And then, so KernelCI is needed for keeping the quality, stability, and long-term maintenance of the Linux kernel. And also because continuous testing is something that can be automated, and that's why some projects like KernelCI are born. So how KernelCI is automating the upstream kernel testing is by having is by KernelCI project, and this is made by the following tools that are in this slide. And I didn't add the presentation probably on the everything open schedule, but I will add probably just after the talk, or you can probably find on my Twitter account after. And so just for giving the link of each part. And so KernelCI composition is made by currently we are orchestrating jobs with Jenkins, and Jenkins is sending the kernel build to Kubernetes. Kubernetes that is offered by Microsoft Azure and GCE, Google Code Engine, I think. And then we have the core tool, that is the part that is managing the testing part of the KernelCI. And the core tools are creating the jobs that will be sent to the Lava laboratory or to the backend API, second which one testing way is using. And then there is the web front end that is getting data from the backend API. And we have a database that is currently managed by KCIDB, that is KernelCI database, I think instead of, and is practically integrating all the test result of KernelCI in one place. So KernelCI there is the KernelCI native code, that is the code maintained by KernelCI, and that is like the previously showed repository. So KernelCI core and KernelCI Jenkins and some other tool of KernelCI that are maintained by KernelCI, and then with the introduction of KCIDB, we could also test some independent testing framework that are not made or maintained by KernelCI. So, for example, we are getting data from CKI, Gentoo KernelCI, and Sysbot. And I don't remember if we had also other one. So the way that KernelCI is using for testing is currently we have the backend API that is doing some testing, but mainly we are doing testing with Lava Labs. And we currently have many working Lava laboratory that are offering their own board for testing the kernel upstream. And is possible anyone can add their own Lava laboratory by requesting API token to KernelCI by the GitHub KernelCI core repository. And then by making a KernelCI user account on Lava with the API authentication token for talking with the KernelCI core that will be sent the KernelCI test to each laboratory. And that is managing also by Jenkins. At least the dispatching is managed by Jenkins. And another way is to use, as I said before, KCIDB, and that will mean that it can add independent testing frameworks, so testing frameworks that are not made by KernelCI, but they anyway want to send the data to KernelCI for adding more tests to the KernelCI, more test result to the KernelCI testing database, to the KernelCI result database. And this is made because KernelCI is trying to collect all the results and send a unified main result to upstream with mostly regression and try to filter in most of what is not needed. And I implemented KCIDB on Gentoo KernelCI, and practically it's just adding one command to your testing framework that is submitting the data result of the kernel testing. But you still need, for using KCIDB, you still need the KCIDB access key, and that is need to be requested on the KernelCI mailing list that I will show after. So currently, as external testing system, we have the following one. And if there is any testing system that it has value to be sending data to KernelCI, I think just requesting to be added on the KernelCI mailing list is enough. So I will talk a bit about what happened in KernelCI. In probably since my last presentation of the previous year, or something that I didn't talk before. So we had some updated on the CIP instance of KernelCI. CIP stands for Civil Infrastructure Platform, and I am part of the testing working team of CIP, so I am happy integrating KernelCI with the CIP instance. And so CIP is a Linux Foundation project that aims to establish a base layer of industrial-grade tooling using the Linux kernel and other open source projects. So CIP is trying to maintain LTS kernel longer after for a more long time, and that's why CIP is pointing on testing for keeping the stability of this super long-term support kernel. And for doing that, we are using KernelCI. So currently KernelCI, before we had only the upstream CIP Linux kernel tree, but recently we added also the CIP GitLab tree, because some CIP developer requested to have some special triggering branch, so that on the immediate branch change it will trigger all the testing from KernelCI. And that is something that it could be possible by adding such specific repository tree. And then we are currently using CIP is making their own supporting configuration for the kernel, and we are getting such configuration from the CIP kernel repository from KernelCI. So we added some hyperlink for getting the CIP for this configuration from the CIP repository, and we have the hyperlink that is cip./ and this is just stand for the GitHub CIP repository, and then we have the path that is where the path of the configuration that it will get. And we also enable some test for this specific configuration. And yeah, and probably in the future I will have to change the title to something more short. But yeah, this is what appeared to the KernelCI front end about the CIP configuration, tested configuration. Another part is that 4.4 LTS is going end of life, and the Save project is wanted to support 4.4 stable branches for more time, and then is why we picked up the long-term stable maintenance for 4.4. So we added all the CIP branch of 4.4 to KernelCI. And another thing is that we wrote some documentation about the CIP instance, and there is also about how someone can start contributing on the CIP instance on KernelCI. And we have also some hyperlink to the building configuration, testing configuration, some explanation about what we are doing currently, what is still missing, what we will do. And there is some task that if someone is willing to help, can work on it. Okay, and another thing that recently came up on KernelCI is we introduced a Rust for Linux test on KernelCI. So Rust is in the KernelCI 6.1, and currently I think Rust in KernelCI started with version 1.62, and current working version is 1.66, and with the recent binge, and this can be checked on the script meanings tool version that is on the kernel. So KernelCI is currently testing both Rust and Rust Next of the Rust for Linux repository. So is helping the Rust for Linux community to get more result, like from board result, or getting more different result from the Rust for Linux development. So for doing that, we added some fragment, some Rust configuration fragment on KernelCI that are enabled by the by adding the Rust fragment to the build of Rust that you want to do. And we added also all the config as Rust sample. And practically we have one of the KernelCI developer made Docker instance with the recent Rust toolchain for building Rust for Linux. And is practically just calling make llvm equal 1 from the Jenkins orchestration system. And it have also some other command from Rust, but yeah, I just use it for personal things like Clippy, that is possible to get a Lyttian test of Rust code, and Rust available, that will call the Rust is available.sh script for checking that the environment have the right dependency for building the Rust kernel. And this is what is seen from the KernelCI frontend. So with all the Rust and Rust next branch. And we also added RISC-V. RISC-V, it was a bit of time that was in progress. And recently we had a bit better implementation, more more testing on RISC-V and also some new board for testing RISC-V. And we had some update about the KernelCI guideline. So the technical steering committee started to keeping some votation record and also updating the rules, the internal rules of the technical steering committee. So like how the votation is done, what we are voting for, and so we documented more about that part for having more transparency about the project. And we updated also the contribution guideline about how to send pull requests for KernelCI. And last, we also had some working group. One is that is working on the web dashboard, and another one that is dedicated on maintaining the KernelCI infrastructure. And we also recently had employed a system administrator that is helping maintaining the KernelCI infrastructure. So then we had also some progress on the KernelCI API that is trying to that it will put in place of the current KernelCI backend, because the current CI backend code is a bit old and still, from what I know, is still on Python 2.7, and so we are trying to move everything to something different. And one of the proposal was to move to KernelCI API. So there is some work on merging the KernelCI API to the current production code of KernelCI. And from what I see, is using fast API and Redis for pub subscription event, and then is using an cloud event. But when we recently have some pull requests about starting jobs from the command line, and so from the command line there is a KCI job register for creating a new job and creating a new job definition and starting a new job from the command line. And when we had the mailing list update, simple update. Before we was on groups.io, and recently we moved to the kernel.org. So the KernelCI mailing list can be seen from lore.kernel.org together with all other kernel related mailing lists. So in the future, what is one of the possibility is that, of course, we are trying to make some more documentation, especially about the what we are doing now is creating documentation about the process of maintaining KernelCI and the process of all the process that is around KernelCI. And then there was some idea about using also different lab other than Lava Labs, or at least a different lab. And about CIP, I think we have to bash out all the current error that we got from the CIP configuration that are not of interest to the CIP project. And also probably adding, I started to add RISC-V testing to CIP, and probably also that need to be implemented also to other CIP kernel, because I think recently only one kernel is doing that, one kernel version. So the conclusion is that working on KernelCI native helps to create a shared set of tooling and infrastructure for improving kernel dependability and assurance. And KernelCI native can be a useful tool for discovering kernel regression bugs. And we have KernelCI documentation and KernelCI IP instance documentation that is one of the updates that we had. And that's all for my presentation. So if there is any question about KernelCI or about CIP or about KernelCI instance, CIP instance on KernelCI. Or if there is any question.
Yes, thank you, Alice. Are there any questions? Yes, I'll bring the mic over. Just a sec.
So why Jenkins? That's the main question.
Yeah, that is a nice question. I also ask many times. Yeah, and why Jenkins? It started from Jenkins. Like, I think, at least when I get into KernelCI, I was already using Jenkins. And I proposed to move to Billbot because I use Billbot for many of my things, personal things, or also some other. I think there was also some proposal of using Tecton, and yeah, but currently there is some more than Billbot or Tecton. There is someone that is wanting to move everything to some KernelCI maintained code. Yeah, but I am also yeah, Jenkins.
Sure. Any more questions?
If you have any idea of how to replace Jenkins, you are welcome to KernelCI meetings.
Okay, if no more questions, thank you again, Alice.